Hi folks, it's a weekday morning, it's a Wednesday morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock and I'm just going to do a little bit of maintenance work on my Epson Stylus Photo 1500W printer. Now, as you know, I use this for my transfers, for transfer printing, with my dye-based ink, which I have a little CIS system for here, with the 6 colours in. That just stops me from having to keep filling up cartridges or changing cartridges, as you probably know. And that system's been working well. And every now and again, as you know, I've also got a waste tank fitted to this printer. And for those of you who are thinking about possibly doing some sort of commercial printing, whether it be t-shirt printing or whether it be something else, because I also print other things on here with regards to my internet publishing businesses, you may want to fit a bulk ink tank to your printer as well. Now, I've shown an installation video on this bulk ink waste tank which I've got, but this is now, I've not emptied this for a few months, so I just want to show you, because a lot of people use these printers for sublimation ink as well. Now, the inks that I use are dye-based inks, obviously, for just my transfer printing, but some people actually use these printers for sublimation as well. Now, if you don't know anything about sublimation, sublimation is a special ink which is heat activated, which you print onto garments and then activate the ink under a heat press, and then it binds to a polyester type t-shirt or something like that. And that ink is very, very dear. As I say, for example, something like to fill this sort of system up here, which is a 6 colour printer, to fill something like that up would cost about £300, £350 in ink. Each one being about 50 each, so 51, 152, 253. So you're looking at about £300 to £350 worth of sublimation ink if you're using an Epson printer. And for me to fill this up with my dye-based inks, which I use, cost me a £10 note, a tenner. And obviously a vast difference. Now, the difference between sublimation inks in an Epson printer and using the dye-based inks have got no particles in them whatsoever, and Epson printers are renowned for having very fine print heads. And if you're using sublimation inks in an Epson printer, you will find that after a period of time, especially if your printer is not being used on a regular basis, the fine print heads will block up and you'll have problems, and you'll have to keep doing maintenance cycles and cleaning your print heads. But I've even had Epson printers before, because I used to use Epson printers with sublimation ink years and years ago, until I finally gave up after having about 6 or 7 of them. And even when I bought new ones, they would block up, and I would actually have to take the heads out and inject the heads with cleaning solutions, and sometimes even that didn't do the job. So that's why I give up with sublimation on the Epson printers, and that's when I chose the Ricoh printers. But we're talking about this printer at the moment. If you're using, if you spent and invested money in a brand new printer like this was, I think it was about £235 when I bought this a few years ago. It's hovering around that price now. Now, inside every printer like this, at the bottom underneath, you can't see it in here, I don't think. Let me just get you a bit nearer and I'll show you. Well, straight, if you look down in here, you probably can't see it, but right under the middle there, it runs the whole length of the printer, is a sponge. It's a thick sponge pad, and when this printer does its cleaning cycles, this big sponge pad gets ink injected onto it as a way of dispersing it. Now, what I've done, as I've showed you before, if I take the side off of this, down here, I've actually interjected the pipe that comes from the print head, and it normally used to clip onto this top pipe here, and then it goes into the bottom through a hose into that sponge and just deposits the ink into a sponge. Now, after a period of time, that will get blocked up. So what I brought was this separate waste ink tank and this tube, and all you basically do is you pull that hose off of there, just join it up to that new tube, which then goes into the waste ink tank. Now, that waste ink tank, Now don't forget, I haven't done this one for a few months. I'm just about to do it now, empty it. And all you do to empty these is just put a little clamp on that comes with the kit. And then you just undo this little valve here, which is just about of one complete full turn. And you can then remove the ink tank. And let's go and empty this now. Now this ink here would normally be deposited in the bottom of the printer. And after a period of time, the printer has a counter on it which counts so many head cleans, so to speak, and it's an automatic counter, and then it would come up that your printer is beyond its serviceable life, because it assumes that all the ink has been deposited in your printer and it will be saturated. Now you can get this reset, as I say, because none of the ink is actually deposited in the printer if you have a waste tank fitted like I do, but the printer's counters still do their counting after many sort of print cycles. So I've actually had this printer flag up and stop working after, I think it was about a 2-year period, 18 months, 2-year period. And I couldn't operate the printer, and normally you used to be able to go online and get a bit of software to reset the internal counter on these Epson printers. This one you couldn't do that. They've changed it with the later printers. You could do it with the older printers I used to have, like the R1800 and R800 printers, for example. You can buy a bit of software, or you can get a bit of software online to do that. But with the latest printers, like this is one of, Epson have sort of captured the market there, and they only sell or hire or have that software available to registered Epson dealers. So I had to take my printer into an Epson dealer. They charged me £10 to do the reset, and I picked it up later on in the afternoon. I put the printer back down here, plugged everything back in, and the counters had been reset. Normally you could do that yourself, but now you can't do that with later printers. They sort of sussed on. It's another way where they make a bit more money, I suppose, I don't know. So I've had that done. So the counters have been reset back to 0, but as I say, all the ink is collected in this little waste ink tank container. So let's go and empty this one out. This is just basic water-based, dye-based ink. So let's go and empty this out, and all this would have been deposited inside your printer and gone hard and congealed. Let's go and empty this. Right, so here we are. Let's just take the lid off of this. This is, as I say, dye-based ink. And let's just show you the sort of quantities that you'll be getting in the bottom of your printer if you didn't have one of these fitted. Now there you go. That container there is nearly full, I suppose you could say. I don't know how much is in there, but that would have all been deposited in your printer. And that is purely ink which is being shot down your printer lines when it does its head cleans or you're doing your maintenance cycles. So all I normally do is I put this into an old sort of soft drink bottle, as much as I can anyway. As I say, it is only water based anyway, so I just try and dispose of it down there. I keep saying I should get a funnel to do this, as you can see why. I'm normally a bit more careful. It's only because I'm just on camera here anyway. So there you go, that's that. And as I say, it's water soluble. As you can see, it comes off straight away. There you go, that's clean now. So that can be deposited and cleaned. And as you can see, look, it just washes away nicely. But I should have actually cleaned this properly first, as you know. And all you do is basically just wash it out with water. She's going to go mad when she sees the mess I've made of this. I'm normally a lot more careful than this. And just flush it through with water. Yeah, I've got it everywhere, look. Unbelievable. This isn't how I normally operate. But as you can see, it washes out lovely. It's just water soluble. Right, okay then, so all I'm basically going to do is put the lid back on. Now don't forget, you've got a little hole in the top of these lids here. Never block that hole up, because once you clamp that on, if fluid goes in, you need air to escape. So you make sure that little hole is unblocked. Otherwise it'll all back up and go into your printer. And then just connect it back up again. Undo the clamp. Very important that, because before I've not done that and it's all backed up into the printer. and there you go, it's ready to go again. So it's that simple. So there you go, a simple little installation job. Now I've got an installation video on my YouTube channel. If you look in my printing playlist, and you'll see the installation video for that kit in more detail. But well worth doing if you've got a dye-based ink printer like this, or basically any printer I suppose, but if you're using a printer very, very frequently, as what I do, it may be worth your while in buying one of those little waste tanks. All you do is you go to eBay and just type in the name of your printer and the words waste tank and see what comes up, just to see if one's available for your printer. So for example, I typed in 1500W waste tank and they should come up. And that's it. So that's all I'm going to say on this little tutorial. Make sure you use the right printer for the right job. If you're using sublimation, I wouldn't recommend getting an Epson printer. For one, you're going to be spending about £300 to £400 filling up your CISS system, and for two, I know from experience that Epson printers do tend to clog up with the sublimation ink, and you can waste so much ink, as you can see there, by doing your maintenance cycles to try and keep the heads clean. Okay then, thanks for watching in this little video, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.